Did you know that someone who made hair products could have also been a civil rights fighter? Well, Madame C.J. Walker was someone who did just that. Madame C.J. Walker was an African American woman who faced lots of grief and challenges, such as losing both of her parents at age 7. She was also determined to make African Americans live better lives and with less prejudice and racism. Madame C.J. Walker was a civil rights fighter with a very interesting upbringing and many great accomplishments that made her a famous African American historical figure today. Madame C.J. Walker was born on December 23, 1867, in Delta, Louisiana. Her parents were Owen and Minerva Anderson Breedlove. Both of her parents were former slaves. Madame C.J. Walker lost both of her parents when she was 7. After that loss, she went to live with her older sister, Louivina. When she married Moses McWilliams when she was 14, and McWilliams died in 1887. After he died, Walker went to live in St. Louis, Missouri, with her 4 brothers. All those struggles helped Madame C.J. Walker become who she is now and inspired her to fight for African American people's rights. Madame C.J. Walker was fighting day and night to accomplish African American people's civil rights. One way she did that was by making hair products. The first way making her hair products impacted her dream is that she thought that African Americans got criticized for their health because they couldn't get good soap to use, so she made the hair products so that it may improve their health. And the second way is that Walker wanted to make money for her poor family, and so she could donate some money to charity, such as YMCA and music lessons for African American people. While fighting for the rights, she also became a role model for African Americans so that they could keep fighting for their rights. Walker's accomplishments helped reduce our world's criticism against people's rights and beliefs and made our world a better place to live in. Madame C.J. Walker, a hair product maker and civil rights fighter that has a unique background and lots of amazing accomplishments that make her a famous African American person in history now. Walker died of kidney failure in 1919. When she died, she was only 52. After she died, we remember her for breaking a barrier for African Americans and inspiring other humans to do the same. Malcolm X, an African American activist, was an impactful man in the 60s. Born on May 19, 1925, his inspirational voice influenced more than 30,000 people to join the Islamic religion. He also fought vigorously to get African Americans equal rights and to stop segregation between white and black races. Malcolm X, a preacher known across the United States, is considered to be one of the most famous African Americans because of his compelling life prior to his fame, his civil rights accomplishments, and his achievements that helped shape society for the better. Something that shaped him into an outspoken and inspiring civil rights leader was his childhood and the life that led him to his famous career. One of those events was his house being burned down. Living in a white neighborhood, his family's home was burned, and no first responder bothered to attend the threat because of his family's ethnicity. This is one of the first times he faced racial discrimination, and that caused him to learn about the nation around him and how it was segregated. But something that taught him key traits, specifically discipline and self-determination, was his father, whose name is Earl Little's, death. He was assassinated by a white man who opposed integration because the white and black races. His father was a civil rights activist whom Malcolm had a deep relation to, so this impacted him a lot. However, another experience showed him the whole equal rights problem in America. In 1946, he went to jail for burglary. He felt ashamed of his mistakes, so he was ready to make up for them. So when his brother Reginald introduced him to the Nation of Islam, or the NOI, a black Muslim organization that fought for equal rights, he immediately joined it. Teachings of Elijah Muhammad, the CEO of the organization, opened up his eyes to the segregation that was happening in the South and the brutality of it. These experiences and events in his life that made him the influential civil rights leader we know of today. In Malcolm's African American activist career, he had several highlights and accomplishments that made him famous. In 1963, he led the Unity Rally, which was one of the nation's biggest civil rights events. It was held in Harlem, where he aimed to unify all African Americans regardless of their race. more than 5,000 African Americans started participating in the protest for civil rights. Something fascinating was his unique and radical philosophy on how to gain liberty from white supremacy. His idea was to gain freedom by getting their own country for African Americans, while many other civil rights activists believe otherwise. He inspired and influenced people with his persuasive voice. For example, Malcolm suggested self-defense to all his followers. Even people who didn't believe in this would change their minds after they heard his speeches. An example of this is a committee titled Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, who still respected him even though they preached for nonviolence to win the fight of discrimination. Malcolm helped civil rights extremely, and this shown through his accomplishments he has done to help equal rights make its way into America. Although Malcolm has many accomplishments in the helping of civil rights movement, he also has many others. For instance, he was the minister at numerous temples, including ones in Harlem, New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. These 4 cities were densely populated with Islamic people who attended these 4 mosques. So it was a large responsibility to take care of the multiple mosques and traveled across the East Coast to deliver inspirational speeches. Another accomplishment was his willingness to rise above his mistakes. As mentioned before, he went to prison for 7 years, but after leaving prison, he took up a huge role in society. However, you may or may not know that he had a newspaper and it was a big trend. After leaving prison, he quickly gained much attention using television and radio, but mainly due to his newspaper to advertise the NOI. It was a breakthrough for the NOI since they didn't have much popularity, but after this, more than 30,000 people joined the organization. He had a lot of accomplishments even though they weren't related to civil rights movement, and instead impacted other parts of society. In conclusion, Malcolm X was truly a hero to take on such difficult tasks to get equal rights and stop segregation. Although he has passed away, his bravery and actions continue to greatly impact our society. Right before his death, he mentioned something that positively affects society even today. He said, "A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything." His background and accomplishments, both in and outside of the civil rights movement, continue to impact and inspire society greatly.
Hank Aaron, the African-American that hit 755 home runs in his career. We might think that he was a baseball champion in his life, but his story had something more than baseball. He didn't only break records and win championships, he also helped provide charity to clubs or schools for support. Hank Aaron is a famous African-American who gave to charity and helped schools during his successful career. Born to play sports, Hank Aaron's childhood in Mobile, Alabama had a lot of obstacles in his way of becoming a baseball player, but he overcame them. Hank Aaron's mom is Estella Aaron and his dad is Herbert Aaron. His family did not have much money when Hank's mom gave birth to Hank and his 7 other siblings, so Aaron tried a variety of jobs to help earn more money. He still became fond of baseball over all of his family's hardships during his childhood and wanted to become a ball player. Also, at that time, Jackie Robinson was the first African American to ever play in Major League Baseball. This inspired Hank to become a baseball player and have confidence in himself. Aaron attended a high school called Allen Institute in Mobile, which had a baseball program along with it. When Hank got out of high school, he played on semi-pro teams known as the Pritchett Athletics and the Mobile Black Bears. Then he played on Indianapolis Clowns when he was in college. Finally, the Atlanta Braves picked him in 1954. Hank Aaron, the African-American that worked hard to help others, became a ball player. Even though Hank's family had a hard time earning money, Hank showed his perseverance by becoming a Major League Baseball player. Hank didn't only focus on earning money from his baseball career, but to give charity to others. After finishing his baseball career, Hank and his wife Billy started the Hank Aaron Chasing the Dream Foundation in the year of 1994. This program was supposed to help children achieve their goals or dreams so that they can have a successful life. Billy Aaron said, "Our intent was to encourage youngsters to dream a dream and then do what we could to help that dream take root and grow." Hank continued to give charity to clubs or organizations programs such as the Hank Aaron Youth Fund, Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Milwaukee, and the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. Who is the African American that beat Babe Ruth's record in home runs and got in the Hall of Fame? The answer to that question is Hank Aaron. Aaron hit 715 home runs in his career, completed on April 8, 1973. Maybe hitting all the home runs is what catches your attention, but remember that Hank Aaron, the Major League Baseball player that worked hard for his life goal, accomplished it while he gave charity to others.
Hello. My name is Nyla.
And my name is Neha.
Today we're going to talk about the Constitution and how important it is to our nation.
The Constitution is a very important thing to learn about.
Citizens. Some people called delegates or some chosen people came to Philadelphia and held meetings called the Constitutional Convention. The delegates debated about a whole new government. These meetings went on for a very long time, including the summer of 1787.
3 branches were created in the process. Can you guess the names of these 3 branches? They are called the executive, judicial, and legislative branch. Since no one branch should have more power than the others, balances and checks were created.
When America's first constitution, the Articles of Confederation, was made in 1781, the nation was a loose confederation of states. They were acting like independent countries. They did not have a president or judicial branch at that time.
This is like having no rules on the playground. Everyone would be falling and getting hurt, and there would be no teachers or yard duties to come help. It would be a disaster. This is how it was in 1781.
George Washington became a hero after he led the Continental Army and won the American Revolution. He soon became the first president of the United States of America.
Hamilton, Madison, William Samuel Johnson, Gouverneur Morris, and Rufus King drafted the Constitution. George Washington was first to sign it. Do you think you can guess how many delegates followed him? He was followed by 55 other delegates. Totally, 39 signed it.
James Madison was called the father of the Constitution for all the hard work he put into making the Constitution. He was also the main writer of the Constitution. Hats off to the father of the Constitution.
The United States is successful today because of the Constitution. It has made a great impact in America. The government is working only because of the Constitution. Thanks to the Constitution, people now have rights they did not have before. Even though the Constitution was written hundreds of years ago to meet the American citizens' needs, it is still very important even today.
This is why we're learning about the Constitution and why it is important.